Come, hold my hand. Let's go on an adventure. Hi. I'm going to assume Adam and Eloise.
Yeah, that's us. Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to
Tell me
meet
your
you.
name.
My name is Effie. I don't know how much you know about me, Adam. Honestly, same to you. I don't know how much you can glean from maybe the podcast or my life. But my family of 4, I like to say, we have a dog and a toddler. And then there's myself and my husband. We travel full time. We kind of stay in a place for about a month and then we move on to another place. And we started this podcast as a way of like helping parents get out there and explore a little bit more and teach people that comfort sometimes isn't always a great learning tool. That's kind of me and our story and why I'm here. And then I know, Eloise, you had kind of reached out on one of the threads. I think that's where we started.
I think I saw you asking about, are you a parent? Do you travel? I was like, yeah, we do.
We do both. And then Adam, you're a teacher, right?
I teach high school biology.
Ooh, I remember high school biology and I liked my teacher, but I don't think I was great at the subject.
I don't remember much of it from back then either.
I just, in case you were going to start
college,
testing me.
I took science for non-science majors in college, so it's not my forte either. So,
who is that?
Oh, this is Frank. We'll get into it, but these are, there's one more too. These are actually the main reason why we started traveling. So we'll explain that. But yeah,
That's Ladybug.
Hi,
that's
Ladybug.
Frank.
Hi,
And then
Frank.
Bao is asleep at the end of the bed. So
We are pugs.
They're so
called a
cute.
grumble. If you've never heard of that, a grumble is 3 or more pugs.
They're very relaxed animals.
I love them so much. They're so cute. I'm going to pretend that it's my daughter, but every time we see a dog, like we freak out and it's totally me. She gets it from me because I'm like, right now, I'm like, oh my God, I want to touch them. Welcome to Momatic Adventures. I'm your host, Effie McMorris, and I am here with Eloise and Adam Hudson.
That's us.
Awesome. I'm just going to ask you to take turns and introduce yourselves and who you are and take it away.
We, Adam and Eloise Hudson, we live in San Antonio. We just celebrated our 17-year anniversary this summer. We've got 2 kids, a girl in 6th grade and a boy in 4th grade. And then also very important to our family is our little Grumble, our 3 pugs, our little pack of pugs. I host a podcast that I substitute teach. And then Adam, you?
I teach biology at the local high school. I used to coach and we had children and busy lives. So I moved to just teaching now.
What did you coach? Football?
I coach track and field and cross country. So running, jumping and throwing and all those fun things.
And he used to coach at the collegiate level, which is important that he switched to high school when we had kids because he was so busy at the college level. If you're competing, you have to travel maybe 8 hours. They were staying the night and traveling over weekends. It was really hard to fit in any travel time or even time just with the kids. Now he does high school, which even when he was coaching was so much better. In San Antonio, it's big enough that if he had a track meet, it was usually in town. There are enough high schools around here that they could compete. The first switch was from collegiate to high school, and now we finally have our weekends free with him just teaching.
And we get more time in the summer.
Yeah, that's true. He's not recruiting like he had to do in college, so we have the whole summer off.
We are definitely going to jump into. I'm also thinking first of all, my cousin just got into the New York Marathon. She is one of those people who we're one of 4 girls. I'm the oldest girl in my part of the family and she's the oldest girl in her part. We're in very different stages of our lives. I'm a traveling parent and she's a teacher who runs. She doesn't talk about it enough, but running, especially a marathon, there's a reason why it's the analogy for everything because it literally is just like endurance and the ability to not give up. I think that's such an admirable thing to coach. Is there something about track and teaching that goes hand in hand?
Coaching is teaching. It's just a different classroom. When you're outside coaching, you've got, the drills that you're doing, that's your classroom. So I think being good at one makes you better at the other. But I started with coaching, and at the university, you can get extra money if you teach a class. They let me teach a class on coaching theory, which I liked. It was fun. And I liked it a lot. I started to like the teaching part better. But anyways, yeah, I'm getting off tangent.
No, that's so cool. I'm loving that phrase. It's just teaching in a different classroom.
Yeah, so a different environment. The classroom's a little more chaotic than being outside.
If they're athletes,
Not what you would normally think.
They're choosing to be there if they're athletes. So they're a little more dedicated. I can say as his wife, he definitely treats them like students. He could have stayed up all night making a workout routine for one of his athletes, just like he could as a teacher, coming up with a PowerPoint presentation or something like that.
Pretty much the same thing.
Have you seen Friday Night Lights?
Not the TV show, just the original movie back in the days.
No, but fun fact, he used to coach at Texas State University, which is right outside Austin. So you've seen his office because he'd come into work and there'd be a clipboard left over from filming the night before. So you've seen his office if you're a fan of that show. Funny, we've never actually watched it.
You should. It's a good one. But he's like the inspirational coach teacher in all aspects of life, which I think should be how all coaches approach things. So you have a grumble, new word that I just learned. Love it. And you are both parents. How do you guys sort of incorporate teaching with travel? I don't know why I put air quotes around teaching and travel. Like, how do you guys experience travel? And then how do you make it teaching?
We're not one of those. I still don't trust myself to really formally teach my children. With Adam being a teacher and me working from home, we're lucky to travel in the summers. We leave the teaching to the professionals as far as academics. In the summer, when we're traveling, it's a break for them, but we do also try and find little moments. We drove to Oregon one time, so we Wikipedia the Oregon Trail, and we're kind of reading about it on the way there. It's mostly for us to keep us entertained.
Can I jump in?
Yeah.
I do feel like we did a little bit. I have some handwriting, those old school papers that'll show you how to trace the letters and learn how to write. You trace the letters and it teaches you how to write in cursive. I had those at school for my English second language kids to do sometimes. So I took those and Xeroxed some and brought those with us over the summer to force the kids to get their handwriting a little bit better and work on their cursive. Because I know that they don't keep it going during the summer. They lose a lot of that. So sometimes we'll do stuff like that. But
it is mostly a break, though, I would say.
But the important stuff that they need to know is not necessarily the stuff that they're learning in class. So like if the stick moves, don't touch it. A lot of kids don't know that.
That's true. We were sitting on the river. I was reading a book and we were able to watch a snake go into the river, get a fish, bring it out and eat it on the riverbank. My kids and I sat there. It was a tiny little snake. That was in New Mexico.
How to make a campfire.
The classroom is really important, but that's true. There are little things. My therapist told me that because I was worried about this trip that we last took, and I'm sure we'll talk about, but it was about 5 weeks. As our kids are getting older, it's harder to get them to want to come and enjoy time with us. They'd rather be home with their friends during the summer. I was talking about our trip coming up, and she suggested that when you travel with children and you're spending family time, teach them something you wouldn't necessarily allow them to do at home. Maybe it's the first time using a pocket knife, or if you were going to teach them to ride their bike this summer anyways, wait until you get on vacation. Then they start to associate time with you as time that they're getting to grow and they're getting new skills, and it starts firing those brain cells. The kids really look forward to traveling during the summer because they know they're going to get to do things. You let Wyatt use the little saw that he's never used before. He was so excited to help because it made him feel old. They learn a lot of the non-classroom stuff when they're with us.
Just knowing how to use when I have kids in my class, sometimes help with something. Be surprised how many of them can't use the measuring tape or just haven't used the screwdriver and pliers and different things like that before. You got to learn that stuff somewhere. Usually it's by doing everything with your parents, just being around them. But this generation, I feel, does a little less of their own repairs and work and other types of skills that used to be everybody would know. Somewhere though. Go ahead.
If something breaks on the camper, Adam goes and tries to fix it. I remember the last time we were packing up the camper, our son, he's in 4th grade, Wyatt, came in. He was like, Mom, I just think about everything Dad has to do. He usually handles the outside of the camper and I settle the inside of the camper, getting it ready. Wyatt was like, do you know how much stuff Dad has to do when he's out there? Do you know how long it would take him back when I wasn't able to help? This is like the first summer he's helping. So it makes him appreciate also that we don't just hop in the car and drive to the new spot. If we're going to pack up the camper to be responsible, you have to put this away, clean this up before you put it away. It's a completely different change of pace for our family. We call it camping, but we're in a camper. So we have air conditioning and beds. It's more like we travel because it's the summer and Adam's off work. We're not at home. We don't have the stress of like, oh, he needs to mow the lawn or I need to do the dishes or whatever. We don't have those stressors. And so it allows us to just do those everyday things. Like Adam said, get me a flathead screwdriver as opposed to a Phillips. We might not have had a chance to do a project like that with our children if it was the middle of the school year.
I just learned that if a stick moves to not touch it, because I didn't know that.
So they know that just making sure. So we made that connection there. If it moves, it's a snake too. Don't poke it.
It's got it. I forget about certain creatures, and I think snakes are definitely one of them. I constantly forget that snakes are out there in the world, especially in Texas. I'm 90% of the time in a city. We rarely have experienced snakes that aren't in a cage.
So have yourself a stick, and while you're walking, use it like as a kind of poking in front of you. They'll get out of the way. And if they were going to bite you, they'll bite the stick. I'm all about the stick when you go off trail.
And there's little things like that, again, they probably wouldn't learn, but because we're out walking around, like we've seen a coral snake, there's even a little like phrase for it. Orange on yellow.
Red on yellow.
Yellow, kill and foul out of red on black, friend of Jack. So it's just little things to remember because I guess the coral snake and another snake, one's venomous, one's not.
And a king snake
are almost identical. And so you learn these little rhymes to let you know which one's dangerous and which is not. Just little things like that you'd never know unless you're out walking and you see one and it sparks the conversation to teach them the rhyme.
100%. Same with the screwdrivers. I said the other day to my cousin, who I think is in their 20s, righty tighty, lefty loosey. And they were like, I don't know what that means. And I was like, well,
I teach freshmen because I teach 14-year-olds. I get to see the things they don't necessarily know that everyone just assumes. I go home every day and I tell her like, you're not going to believe this or just, and so it makes me realize that, hey, I got to make sure that our kids are learning these things and not spending too much time on their electronics,
which is a big struggle.
That's part of where the travel, where the camping comes in,
right?
Because we know that there's not a lot to do, but there's not tons to do without poking us. A lot of parents that live in a suburban neighborhood, not in a big city, you don't let your kids go outside because you want to make sure they come back to you, and so now they're limited by being inside. Long story short, when you go out camping, it allows you to be in an area where you can let them go.
Yeah. It sounds like
learn things.
I think similarly, it gets you out of the comfort of your house as well. So you can go explore with them, which helps with learning together. I know that's my biggest issue when I'm at home. If we go there, doing the dishes seems more important than going for a walk. Getting things done so the house is clean feels different than when you're in a hotel and you're like, yeah, I'm living out of a suitcase right now. It's fine. Camper. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just the responsibilities are on pause because we are going back to our home, but it does feel like it's just paused. We take the dogs for a lot more walks. We go to the waterfall. We do more as a family.
That one is a huge one for me. But when we first came to San Antonio, we got a little apartment to stay in. We always look back and talk about how much we loved it, how
A tiny little.
relaxing it was, because you have this tiny little apartment that you don't have to take care of. You don't have all your clutter. We took the dogs to the dog park every single day.
We did not have kids at the
I
time.
started to realize when summer comes, I want to get out of here. When I walk around the house, I see reminders of things on my to-do list. When you said the comfort of your own home, I do get the comfort part, but my comfort is actually when we are on the road, because I can't do all those tasks that are at home.
Yeah.
If this is that I'm away from them, and it's just so different. My stress levels go down. It's better for my health.
I think it's better for the family as a whole unit. When we're also at home, there are so many things we can do. I have book club tonight. Oh, you know what? You're going to go to the gym because we're home. The to-do list is a mile long. When we're on the road, like, it's just, we can worry about it later. But when you're looking at the overgrown lawn every day, you can't just let it go. So I totally empathize with that. It forces us to not have so much stuff. We have to like Maria Kondo everything. Every time we leave a place, and we usually stay for about 4 to 5 weeks, we have to get rid of a bag worth of stuff because kids just have so much crap and we have so much, and everybody just has so much stuff. I think when you have a house, and I could be wrong, but there's a lot of stuff that you're like, oh, you know what? I can fix that lawnmower. I'm going to put that over there and I will fix it. But in the meantime, because I have to mow the lawn, I'm going to get a new lawnmower. So now you have 2 lawnmowers. It's a task.
Literally.
Is this real?
Literally, yes. Yes.
Yes,
This is a real scenario.
You accumulate, especially if you're like me. I'm kind of an accumulator.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. On the camper, we were there for about 4 weeks this summer. There were a couple rainy days. We got the urge, and it was raining. We couldn't go outside. So we pulled, the kids have their own room. They share a room on the camper. So there's very limited storage for their things, but we still pulled everything out, went through them. We Marie Kondoed it. We gave it our neighbors, for the few weeks, had some little kids. So we had some rain boots that they had grown out of, some life jackets. Yeah. So we went and just gave those to the neighbors. It is weird being on, I don't know how big our camper is. I mean, it's not huge. I regularly tell him when we get home, I kind of want to burn the house down and start over again, because it's just so much stuff in a house compared to being minimalistic when we're on the road.
Every time we go back to our home base and we have stuff in storage, furniture and things like that, I always think we got to just throw it out. We don't need it. If we end up in a house at some point, looking back to those days when we lived in a tiny apartment before the kids, we couldn't fit all the stuff. We couldn't have 2 lawnmowers. Just get rid of one.
I bet a lot of people chalk it up to vacation. Like, if you have the summer off, of course you're going to be less stressed. And of course you're less stressed on vacation because you're not working. But it's not the case. Both of us have worked on the road. With COVID, teachers had to stay home. At least here, they had to stay home for that first year. Yeah. She also worked from home at the same time. Loved life.
I was working from home before COVID.
Can't somehow less stress.
That's when we actually bought the camper before COVID. So I was still working full time, but from home. We would go somewhere and I would wake up and go to a local coffee shop and use their Wi-Fi. There was something about working from a little Colorado coffee shop that made the experience more enjoyable instead of sitting in my house. I still see I need to do that pile of laundry. Whether I do the laundry or not, I still see the pile and it's annoying me. But when I'm sitting in a coffee shop. Yeah. So yeah, he's right. It's vacation in a way, but I was still working and I had them around. When I got off, we were walking out our front door to go to a river. It was cool because in Texas, it is so hot during the summer.
It's strategic.
I plan the trips, and his only real requirement is get us out of Texas. It is too hot here. We travel with 3 dogs, and we can't leave them in the camper. The air conditioner will often freeze up. We have to be around every hour to check on the dogs. If we go somewhere where the weather's 60 degrees, we don't even have to use the air conditioner, so we can go to the 4th of July parade and things like that.
Yeah, so we research the temperature ahead of time. Yeah. I look up average temperature that time of year for this particular location. and look at all the cities and like, what is the shortest drive to hit below 80 degrees? And so that's kind of where we targeted, but we had never towns we have heard of. They're just in that meridian. And then when we go to one, we're like, oh, we passed through that place. It looked neat. Next year we go there. And so that's really the criteria was get somewhere where it's cooler. As soon as it's cooler, I don't care what we do.
That's a question I was planning on asking you. So your criteria is out of Texas for the summer. Love it. What else do you guys look for? I know people travel for theme parks. It sounds like you're more on the nature side, but what are your big selling points when you're doing that research?
There's a river going through the campground. I'm sold because I am a sit by the river with a book while my kids play, and he likes to look for arrowheads in the river. So we can spend a full day at a river. If we don't have to pack up and drive, and we can go be checking on the dogs every now and then, getting more snacks. That's my ideal. Also, because we're going for that long, we stay at a little bit more bougie campgrounds because they usually need Wi-Fi because I'm working. And then we also usually, now that the kids are getting older, I don't know that it would be a breaking point, but I always looked for one with a playground because we felt so much more comfortable sending our kids to play on the playground than we would in our own neighborhood playground. If possible, I like it to have a washer and dryer because we are there for 4 weeks. We've done laundromats before. That wouldn't be a breaking point, but really the more naturey ones.
You have to research where you can actually park your camper. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, we usually stay at a campground. RV Parky has been great, like an RV park.
That was Perky,
No.
P-E-R-Q-Y?
No, like
RV Perky?
RV Parky.
Oh, well, the other one sounds better.
And so there's an app called RV Parky, and I have used
I like
that.
RV Parky.
Yeah.
We should buy it.
It would have been missing a really great opportunity because it's an RV park. I use that app and it has real reviews and amenities. If we're going to be there for 4 weeks, we have to have somewhere to dump everything that we're accumulating in our camper under the toilet. And so
it's called SEPTIC.
No.
I think yours is more descriptive.
There are campgrounds that don't have one at every site. You accumulate everything, and as you're pulling out, you stop there. A lot of state parks, national parks are this way because that's how they keep it cheap. There isn't a septic tank for every site. There's just
and I'll say, in case people are looking for those tips, bought their camper was not based off necessarily the size of the camper, but the size of how much septic it would hold.
The tank on the camper.
That meant they could stay for longer durations without doing that. But people also, there's little ones that you hook on the back, like they're almost like little.
Woody potty.
Yeah, it's like a little tank that holds maybe 20 gallons that you put your hose and dump into so that you can then take that over to the dump. You don't have to unhook all your stuff. So there are ways around that, but you got to research.
Yeah, so I made sure that if we're just trying to get somewhere, like we're going to stop over 1 or 2 nights on our way up to Colorado, we don't have to have a septic because we can go 4 days until we get to the campground. But the one that we're staying at permanently, we needed to have water, we needed to have electricity, and we needed to have septic.
Specifically, it has to be 50 amps.
And 50 amps.
Because we want those air conditioners to work. We have to have enough amps for it. But if you have 2 air conditioners in the fridge, things like that, then you got to have 50 amps.
Or
we don't want it to go out and the bugs be there and us not know it.
The air conditioner will be on and you try and use the microwave and the air conditioner.
Oh, and everything goes out.
So it's just like you have to learn the tips and tricks.
Yeah. Our first trip, we did not know any of this. Rented a 24-foot camper, borrowed my dad's truck, hooked it up, and headed off to go to Oregon. That's when that RV Parky app came in handy because while we were in the car, it'd be like, well, we're probably going to need to stop in a few hours, but okay, it says here there's a Cracker Barrel that you can stay overnight in the parking lot. We'd pull in, and that was probably my favorite trip because I felt it was stress-free because we
had no idea what we were
just
doing.
Going. You'd pull over on the side of the road, make sandwiches.
When you realize that it's out of your hands is when things become stress-free. You made the choice to take this trip and you were like, this is that trip where we figure it out. Everyone's like, how do you stay so present? I'm literally every day flying by the seat of my pants. I have no choice but to be in this moment because I don't know what tomorrow holds. My mom just called right before we got on this call and said, do you know where you're going to be in 2 weeks? I was like, no, we do not.
I saw you post about that. Yes.
Yeah.
See, I envy that.
Well,
We get a taste of it. But
And
And
there's
I
something
told
about
my-
it that's really invigorating. It detaches you from the monotony of the everyday. Even going to a coffee shop to work, we do the local libraries. We go to the kids section, hook up to the internet, and my husband and I sit there and work. And we let her run around and we can kill like the whole morning. So we're there from 9 until noon, take her home to nap. And then we have till 3 o'clock. That's our work day. We got a whole day of work by letting her run around the library and pull 1,000 books out. The librarians love us.
Chamber of Commerce's usually have free Wi-Fi if you're ever in a pinch, or they will at least know what businesses to suggest to go to for free Wi-Fi.
That is a good tip.
Yes, because we have done it. I had a meeting one time and we've done it from the parking lot of the Chamber of Commerce because it's usually free Wi-Fi. I love
Cracker Barrels are good.
I have a friend whose dad did trucking and he always stayed in the Walmarts, which I did not realize the head of those trucks have like a whole little house in them.
a lot of them do. They have a shower.
I was
Yeah.
like, whoa, you live here?
Probably
Like,
half
damn.
the square foot of our camper. They've got a lot in there for one person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
When you took this Oregon trip, was it just the two of you or was that everybody?
It was everybody, which is the reason why we did it. The summer before, I'm from Oregon. We try and get up there every summer. I think we had done like 2 weeks and his dad came and watched the dogs and we had such a good time up there that the next summer, 2019, so before COVID, we said we want to go back up to Oregon, but we want to stay like 3 weeks or 4 weeks. But we just couldn't ask his dad to come watch the dogs for that long. So we kind of joked about, let's just rent a camper and drive up there and take the dogs with us. And so long story short, yes, that's a thing. You can rent a camper. So we rented a camper from another family who was not using it that month and wanted to make a little money. We had gone camping with our friends for 2 nights, maybe 20 minutes from our house one time. So we had kind of seen it.
I have a question.
Yes.
Where did you rent it? How did you find that family? Was it a family you knew?
It was child. Did we use Outdoorsy? There's a couple of websites. Oh, RV Share. You can also use outdoorsy.com, but I went to rvshare.com, typed in the dates that we wanted to be gone, had to be pet friendly, had bunk beds for the kids. You can type in all your requirements and then the owners of the campers set their own prices. And we got really lucky. It was his first time renting it. So he had gotten some great advice, put it really low, build up some reviews, and then you can start charging a lot. So we were one of the first ones to rent it. So we got an amazing deal for the month. And yeah, because it was kind of last minute, like Adam said, we would be driving somewhere and I'd get on RV Parky and we'd start calling, do you have availability? Do you have availability? We were lucky because with it being 2019, right before COVID, it was so easy to get spots. People weren't really camping and traveling as much. Yeah.
That was about
Wow.
6 week trip. I
Yeah.
remember that.
To and from Oregon. And then the next summer was 2020. And we had rented one more time and then purchased at that point. Well, no, we rented over spring break to try one more time to see if we liked it. And then on the drive home is when we got the call that the schools are shut
schools
down.
closed.
He was a teacher and I was already working from home. We had rented a camper for spring break and loved it. So we were like, let's do it. Everything was virtual. Let's buy a camper. If we're going to do it, we should do it now. We bought the camper and spent the next 6 months traveling. We would be at one place and call the next place and be like, do you have availability? And if they had 5 days open, we'd stay there for 5 days. While there, we plan the next one. 2020 was a really big bonding year for our family.
People don't talk about the good COVID did for us.
Yeah.
I need to ask you a question. Your kids were then in second grade and first grade?
COVID hit when our daughter was in kindergarten. Our very first trip was with a 3 and 5-year-old. We drove up to Oregon and back. We saw the redwood trees. We just,
The most amazing trip ever.
Yeah.
We could talk forever. Everything that we saw, different parts of that journey, being in Oregon where everything is green and all the hydrangeas are different colored flowers on every corner, going down random 4th Street to an estate sale where I found the coolest old tools and polished rocks from some guy's garage. This is truly a relaxing Saturday. I'm not going to have to run to Home Depot after this estate sale.
You talked about the estate sale. We recently found that we love going to thrift shops. When we went to Pagosa Springs this summer, we probably went back to the thrift shops 3 times because we were looking for
Goodwill.
or the local church thrift shop. And it'll say Pagosa Springs Humane Society for $1 for that shirt. And I was like, well, we wanted a souvenir shirt. So let's get the Pagosa Springs Animal Society. And so
it's so much cheaper. Those sweatshirts to Goodwill, rather than paying $40 in the gift shop, you can get it for $3.
Tip.
Yes. So check out all the local thrift shops.
We went with a group to the Grand Canyon. We spent forever in
the brand new Goodwill opened across. We took 3 families, a different type of traveling that we did. That we also often travel with our friends because they have campers also. So that's another aspect, living life with friends through traveling. But we were in a hurry this spring break, decided not to take the campers. We did Airbnbs and hotels, but we had 3 families. I think there were 14 of us between the 3 couples and all of our children. We took 3 minivans and drove to the Grand Canyon and back. We did Petrified Forest, White Sands, National Forest, Carlsbad Cavern. So like 4 or 5 national parks we squeezed in. So when we were in Arizona, we got to our hotel, did happy hour. The oldest girl was old enough to babysit all of our kids. So all of the adults went across the street to Goodwill. They were dragging me out. They told me it was closed. And I was like, I don't think it's closed because it was just so much fun. But we were finding these things. These kids have been to the Grand Canyon 5 times on field trips. They don't want their t-shirts anymore. And so you're finding all these cool Arizona and Grand Canyon shirts for a couple of dollars.
Such a good idea. Even if it's not a Grand Canyon shirt, even if it's a shirt that says like it's got a picture of a dog on it for your kid, that's always going to be the Grand Canyon shirt. And I love that, especially because I think my family all has very different styles. I feel like that's a really good way to make sure everyone gets what they want. We're trying to go to a thrift store later today because we have a 90s party we're going to. My husband wants to dress like Chandler from Friends.
Oh, fans, yeah.
We've done those, the 90s. We've done them all.
Yeah.
In the thrift store, I believe so. We get it done. You're wearing this.
I'm so excited. I have like a list of places we're going to kind of try and go to. My favorite thing is letting her run free because there's so many things for her to touch and look at. I have a question about your kids. They were 3 and 5 when you first started kind of this journey, and now they're a bit older.
9 and 10. Yeah.
How have they grown through these adventures? I know you said it's getting a little bit harder to get them to do it. I'm sure it's like, I don't know if you've ever seen the Goofy movie when Max has to go on a trip with his dad.
That concert party.
Yeah.
Yes.
Then it's one of my favorite movies. I see so much value in it. I see what it's giving my daughter. What has it been like seeing your kids grow through to have gone to the Grand Canyon, seen most kids don't ever get to see any of that. So that's huge.
I don't feel like you could put a price tag on how big of a deal it is. Our last trip that we just took was probably the simplest that we've taken. We didn't go to lots of different places and explore. We just drove to Colorado, got a campsite, and stayed there. Even though we weren't going around looking at these historic places and learning new things, we would talk about the fact that our kids are out till 9 or 10 o'clock at night, learning to socialize with other kids at that campground, running around like feral animals that they can't do here in San Antonio because we're scared they're not going to come back. You just don't have that kind of freedom. Kids don't know how to settle conflict, interact with each other, not have things go their way. We just felt like the ability to ride their bikes. The space to do it.
Live in a good neighborhood. We never just say go ride your bikes. This summer, our campground was pretty secluded and we felt very safe being go ride your bikes. We'll sit here in the camper. And especially if they were together, they were so cute. They got on, it was kind of a hybrid of, digital and non-digital. They got on our computer and looked at the map of the campground. And then they made this spy game. They would tell us, give us a mission, count how many Jaycos, which is a brand of camper, count how many Jaycos there are. And that was their mission. They got on their bikes and would go around the campground and count things.
Walkie-talkies,
Yeah,
so
the
that way
walkie-talkies.
we can holler at them.
It's bringing me back to my childhood.
That's what we want.
We both grew up
That's
in
what they
pretty
don't get.
small towns, and we're living in San Antonio now. We don't feel like our kids are growing up like we did. For 1 month out of the year, I took pictures of them. They were playing sardines. They had never heard of the game sardines. And so they were playing that this summer with all
I don't
those
know what
kids.
sardines is.
Oh, it's like reverse hide and seek. One kid goes and hides and then everyone else goes. And as you find them, you hide with them until there's just one person walking around being like, where are you guys?
That is such a fun game. I've never played that. And that sounds so fun. And I'm going to ask my
Especially
friends to play
at a
that with me.
campground. They're out in some big campground.
One thing with kids being out playing, being able to make their own decisions is a lot of times adults will try to impose too many sanctions on the rules that they make things fair. Kids need an environment where, one, they're taking risks so that way they get confidence and don't grow up with more anxiety. And they need to be where they don't get their way in making rules or things don't seem fair.
But there are times when there will be 5 of them playing and they don't know each other well enough to argue. They just met. And so if 4 of them wants to play a game and our daughter doesn't want to play that game, but she wants to play with them, she has to say, okay, I'll play that. And then maybe after, can we play our game? Or even when there aren't kids, we just end up as a family. And I think this all started because you said, how does it affect the kids? They're at the age now, I'll say, long story short, they don't want to go because they are missing out on cheerleading camp and sleepovers. During the school year, we don't sit down every night and play poker as a family or doing puzzles.
Good point.
And I know as a parent, spending a month with just the 4 of us together is going to make you a better person. I actually told my daughter that this summer when she was saying, I don't want to go. It's not fun. I told her, it might not be fun the whole time, but I really think that you're going to be a better person for spending the month with your family. I'm not here as your mom to make you have fun. I'm here for you to grow up to be the best person you can be. I really do feel like time with us is going to improve your life. And I'm the same way. I had a great family and we went on a vacation every year, just the 4 of us. A lot of my childhood memories, even though those were 1 week out of every year, I can remember every family vacation. I was learning things from my parents. I was learning to appreciate things and, just how do you travel? How do you get on an airplane? Little things like that really shaped my life. I think they dreaded it first, but when we get home, I think they tell you they had a lot of fun on the trip. Yeah.
It's just a different vibe. When you're at home, it's just taken down a notch. Does that make sense? Like everything's just kind of, even the kids, they think they're happier here, but they're like, I'm bored.
When we stay at a place for a month, like the place we're at now, we have to walk from the front door to an elevator. That elevator takes us up 15 flights. Then we get out and walk around a corner to get to our door. My daughter now knows that trip. So now that walk for her is boring. She's like, I want to explore over here. I want to run down this hallway. And I'm like, I've got 1,000 bags. We don't have time for that. She's bored doing that same walk. And I think in the context of a house, it's easy to get, not to say bored, but I know every inch of this house. I studied this house and I think they have the same tasks. If I'm home, I could be working on my computer. I could be playing this game. I could be watching a movie. I could be building my little car that, I don't know what your kids do for fun, but like whatever the thing is on these camping excursions, the way that we live our lives, there's never that same routine almost. So she has to adapt. We all have to adapt. And I think it makes us better at adapting. I hope, fingers crossed. I totally get seeing that advantage for your children and being like, this is one of those instances where I think I'm making the best choice for you. You might not like it, but we're doing it.
Okay.
How do you deal with those moments? How do you have those conversations? Do you have them together?
We handle that different.
I feel like we handle it differently.
Okay. How would you handle it? We'll see. We'll see if we line up.
I feel like mine is closer to how both our parents are. You're a child and I'm an adult. I remember when I was growing up, it was whatever dad was doing, you were doing. You're always tagging along with your dad. I don't feel like we get as much of that as I did when I was a kid. This extended period of tagging along with dad, you're camping for 6 weeks. I know that it's better for them. So I'm okay with just being like, I'm sorry, that's life.
I really have sat down with them and explained, I know this doesn't sound fun, but I promise, it will be a good thing for you. The fact that they can say they went to the Grand Canyon, now they're happy.
We shorten our trip. We come back now for dance camp, cheerleading camp.
As they get older, right now we get to pick what we do during the summer. There's cheerleading camp, but it's fun. If she wants to be on the high school cheerleading squad, she has to come back for camp. But that's the other thing I explained to them. You're not going to have a lot of free summers left in your life. If you want to be in band, you have to start band a month early. There are just a lot of things. Our nephew's a Boy Scout. We went to Florida for a week, and it was a very specific week. Time is bleeding, and there are only so many summers left. It is the best decision because right now they're, in my mind, just missing out with time with their friends, and they can have that 11 months out of the year. But summer is going to be an important time for them. Once they're teenagers in high school, we might not feel like we can pull them from life and put it on pause for 5 or 6 weeks, but right now we can. So we just keep doing it until we can't anymore.
I would have no problem living the lifestyle. Like just get a big Airstream, and I don't know if you'd do homeschooling or how we would go about doing that, figuring it out, but I would be okay with that.
Is this the moment where we convince you?
No, talks before. I agree.
I thrive in life when I have a community. I have a really good group of friends, and they are often the ones we travel with and have a camper. We do life together. I don't know that I could handle not having that community aspect in my life.
Living near our parents.
We love living near our parents. We live in Texas, under an hour, so that feels close for your parents. My parents are in San Antonio, and I did not grow up near grandparents. And so to me, it's such a blessing to be around family for holidays and all of that. And not even holidays, just random. I saw my mom yesterday. I love that aspect of it. I don't know that I would want to be gone. We have talked about in retirement being like park hosts. This last one that we were at, there were a couple of couples that lived in Colorado at that campground during the summer and then lived at a Texas one during the winter. They actually worked the campground. That's what they do in retirement. They just shuffle between the two. When we don't have children, maybe I could see that, but I love community so much. And I think that especially our daughter, maybe our son also is the same. Her friends are very important to her already. I can't see me thriving in an environment where I don't have my friends. I'm very much an introvert, but
that's where your extrovert gets to come out and be safe. I totally get that. This is a hard lifestyle. There are days where we're exhausted by how many decisions, how much moving, just getting this on the books. We didn't have Wi-Fi for a week and a half. It was torture. Everything's on the internet now. That's really difficult. It sounds like you guys love to explore. You love to teach your children. You like to encourage them. If you could look back at 5 years ago, what advice would you give yourselves as first-time adventurers, first time taking that trip to Oregon? What's advice for little you that you could use?
It's hard because it's kind of like being a parent, right? The first one's really hard, and then the second one comes and you're like, oh, the second one is so much an easier baby. But no, it's because you had practice with the first one. My advice now would be like, don't plan, you just go with the flow. But I don't know that you can do that on the first one because there are so many variables.
And a lot of the different random things that would happen.
Yeah, you kind of touched on it earlier. When our friend who has been camping a lot longer than we have was going to do her first long haul, leaving for a while, not just the weekend or a long weekend. We had done the Oregon trip. She was asking me for advice. And I was like, you just have to be okay with something going wrong. You have to expect that first night that we went camping for the month long trip, our first night, the plug that plugs into the electricity at a campground, we looked outside, the cord was dragging on the freeway, just sparking. By the time we got there, the metal was completely shredded flat, so we couldn't plug in for electricity. Luckily, I'm married to a very handy man. We parked in a Walmart and stayed the night. He went in, bought a new thing, spliced it together, and we were on our way. We also have literally been through a tornado in our camper. That was terrifying.
We had the awning open, driving.
As we were driving, we had to pull over and zip tie the takeoff. It was, you just have to accept, and maybe we're lucky because those longer trips, you are able to do that. If we're just leaving for 3 days, it may not feel like that. But when we leave, we're like, peace out, Texas. Responsibility.
It feels like less of a deal because you don't have all the other things normally weighing down on you. All I got to do is fix this power. And so you're eventually fix the power. Huh?
Yeah. And a lot of things that go wrong, you chalk
Sad.
it up to, we're camping. It's not a big deal. Like, you just don't have maybe the biggest advice I would give someone, don't have high expectations for things to go well. What is your purpose? We almost ran out of gas one time, but now it's a funny story to look back on about how panicked we were, but didn't tell the kids. There's just, you make a lot of memories if you make room. We spent hours in the car together, and that sounds
to stay
simple,
to
but
get in a smaller environment for an extended period of time. It's just does magic. It's just a lot better.
It's like every summer we reconnect, and that's the purpose. I don't even say we're camping. I usually say we're traveling because, like I said, we have all the amenities with the camper. So it's not like we're a camping family and we love that. We love the simplicity of being away from home and the bonding that it does while we're together. So I feel like
the camper makes it where we don't have to pack.
we take our own, and
I love that.
So we have our own guest house, a vacation home, park it wherever we want.
I think at least when we've stayed at people's houses and they have a separate entrance with a floor with a bathroom, it's called the mother-in-law suite.
We have our own. When we had a smaller camper, it was amazing because we could park it in the driveway. When people came over, they would stay out there. So it was kind of like a little guest suite, but now it's too big. Our HOA doesn't allow us to park it in our neighborhood. But
one thing to answer your question that I thought I would do differently or wish I would have, I was telling her, I keep a book, kind of like a journal with some of our travel stuff in there. It started as a let's write down the good places to eat, the good campsites and stuff like that. I'm very analytical. I think it started with the campsite of like, we're going to make sure we get the best spot. So we drive around. I prioritize them in order so that next year when she's booking something or if we're driving in, we can say we want number 9. But what I wish I had done was started sooner.
that one was pretty special.
I think of it as it's going to be kind of neat when my children have this book. What if they want to go to Colorado or find themselves in that area? They can go to the same place we went to, find the same campsite. And so this is in 2021. We were in Creede, Colorado. Our first trip, we stayed at the Antler Lodge, RV spot number 9. Always check. They only had a few 50 amp spaces. In the future, book spots in this order. Number 15 on the end of the back row nearest to the playground. Number 9, nearest to the restrooms. And anyway, so I could go on, but there's on the different spots. But then I talked a little bit about what we did. Very nice place. The restaurant is expensive, but good. They have live music in the patio on the Rio Grande River. We stayed a couple of weeks and met Christine and Greg, good people and fishermen. On day 1, I slipped in the river and lost my Crocs. Watch the rocks. I found a broke bird point on the plateau behind our site. Exploring with the kids, Wyatt wanted to go rock hunting, and Cora wanted to see how many colors and flowers we could count. We also went fishing in the pond. Cora and I saw our first double rainbow at the Antler Lodge from the top of the hill facing northeast. If their kids ever wanted to go there, they could find that little plateau, face northeast, and remember that double rainbow we saw.
I'm not crying. I recently listened to a few of my past episodes and I cry in almost every single one. So I was really hoping to do an interview where I didn't cry. But the idea that you started this for yourself, just list making tasks, and now you can envision and think of how important that's from 3 years ago. To have that to look back on, I guess it's resonating with me because of what I'm doing. And I'm thinking that there will be a day where she can listen to this and hear how I grew and learned to be a parent, to see the things that you saw, like be careful about the rocks, like such a small, it's just really sweet and magical in such a small, tiny sentence. And now this
It
book
feels
is
like
going
a
to be
long time
huge.
ago. I'm sorry. It felt like it was 10 years ago.
Well, especially because this age with them, looking back on pictures from our first Oregon trip, they grow so fast at this age. Yeah, I'm remembering this trip as he's talking about it, and they seem so little. Like we've been doing this since they were maybe 3 and 5. We have a lot of really good memories of traveling with them.
What's the biggest thing you've both taken out of traveling with them and traveling together as a family?
It is kind of a reset for our family every year. We rediscover our kids. We turn to each other all the time. We're like, oh, they're so cute. We literally see our children better, I feel like, when we're camping. For me, in a selfish way, it makes me very proud. It's a lot of work, but at the end of the day, I'm really proud of that experience we give them. When we're old, we can look back and be like, oh, we made it a priority. We spent time with our children every summer. We chose to invest our money in the camper, and I feel like it has given us everything that we wanted out of it.
Like physical representation of what you're putting into it, that heart and that love, like to make a traveling home requires effort in the same that it takes to make the home that you live in every day. I like genuinely in my like heart, I'm like, oh man, I hope to be where you guys are. And in a couple of years, I hope to experience things like that with my family. As much as we're doing it, we're in a little car. Like to travel with your home sounds very cool. And a lot of good tidbits about the SEPTIC. And
Right, yeah.
Yeah, you want a septic if you're going to stay for more than a few days.
Parking. I feel like all those things are really interesting. I didn't even know you could rent RVs. I thought you either had to buy one or know somebody, but
we've talked about renting ours out. We're both like, no, we would not just let a random person rent our camper. I don't know how people trust that, why they trusted us to borrow we paid them, but we used their camper for a month and it was life-changing, I guess, being able to do that. Because we never would have just bought one.
I worked 9 months for those couple of months in the summer. That's why I have my job, is to be able to do that or to have that time to enjoy.
It really does.
We did not go on an extended trip last summer because of my work schedule. And we were both noticeably grumpy about it. We were both like agitated that we had to be here all summer.
Yes, it felt like it was 2 long years in a row. If you're at home, you're like, I wish this armchair went out a little bit more or was this or that. But life can be pretty cozy from a lawn chair.
Yeah.
And you're just completely loving it.
I love what you said earlier about when you're in the camper, when the armchair is not great at home, you're like, this is my couch for the next 20 years. This couch has to be perfect. When you're in the camper, you're like, I can deal with it. It's only 5 weeks. That happens when we're in a place that's really uncomfortable. It's like, okay, we're only here for 1 more week and then we can move on. Or we've got 3 more weeks here. We got to learn to deal with it. We've got to adapt. We've got to figure it out. Like it really makes us creative problem solvers. And I think it's great. So I have one thing that I let the guests do if they want to, which is ask me a question. If either of you guys have any questions for me.
Where has been the most interesting place that you've gone that we should put on our next list?
So close.
It's in the summer.
So New Orleans. When we went to New Orleans, it was, so I don't drink. I kind of thought it was just going to be a big party town. I was like, I don't want to go to a party town. That's not fun for me. I'm a mom. We're parents. Like that doesn't seem like it would be enjoyable. I fell in love. The community, exactly. It's when you were sharing how important your community is. I feel so similarly. My community continuously expands, which I find really exciting. The moms that I met in New Orleans, the community that I built there, like every time we move, like I'm like, hey, do you want to just, I don't know, quick trip on back down there? we have a list of ongoing places that if something happened and we had to become stationary, what is our list? And New Orleans continuously keeps bopping its way in the top 3, but I don't think we could do it in the summer. We would have to leave in the summer. I would not recommend you guys going there in the summer.
Oh, you had mentioned community just now. Living here in our neighborhood, we knew maybe 1 or 2 neighbors pretty good, and since that had moved, so we know who our neighbors are and we know them a little bit. But like the last place that we went camping, every morning she would be excited to get up and go on our walk. We'd say hi to the same people that worked there, and the ladies inside would give her a treat. We'd walk by the river, see other campers walking their dogs and people watch. We don't ever do that here. We don't go for a walk in the neighborhood. It's just different. Like you get that community feel.
You don't have it, so you're looking for it. When you're home, you're like, if I want community, Jess lives down 3 streets away or whatever. I can call her. She can come over. We can sit on the couch, like whatever it is. I know when I'm in New Jersey, I'm never looking for community because I have it. But as soon as I'm somewhere else, I'm like, oh man, that person looks really cool. Do you think they'll hang out with me? Hi, do you want to be my friend? I take the dog out for walks and I'm like, does anybody think my dog's cute?
What it is, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm so thirsty to talk to a person. I am just like, hey, stranger, do you want to be my friend? But when I'm home, I'm like, I got enough friends. Please don't talk to me. I have my headphones in. I'm not doing this. Some of that can also be that I know those people and those people kind of suck.
They feel like a lot more work at home.
You
do.
do.
It's a big commitment to hang out and to plan to do something. They just kind of let it go.
It's so easy to be like, listen, I don't want to come over for dinner with you and your husband when me and my husband are happy to sit on the couch and watch the show that we're binging right now. It's just so much easier to be comfortable and to be home. But when we're out, it's like, oh, some couple wants to invite us over for dinner. We should go. We need friends. Oh, maybe, and then that's our topic of conversation the whole time we're there. We're like, do you remember that couple we hung out with? They were so cool. Or like, ooh, they were the worst. Thank God we're leaving.
Yeah.
There's less pressure, less commitments for some reason when you're on the road. I want to say thank you from the show, mostly from me. The information you have provided my brain. This classroom was wonderful. Thank you very much for teaching me because I did a lot of learning. I am now going to walk around with sticks anytime I'm near grass because I might be scared of snakes. If people want to listen to your podcast or want to become a student in your biology class, how do they get in touch with you guys?
My podcast is called The High Achieving Housewife, and it is all about women who are living their life, being heads of household, having kids, maybe not having kids. I invite a new woman or 2 every week, and we just chat about something great they're doing. So had a woman who wrote a book in her retirement. She'd always had an idea for a child's book, so she finally wrote it. A friend of mine and her husband sold their house and moved onto a boat. So we talked to her. We have veterans.
I want to talk to that boat person.
Yeah.
It's a good idea.
And then I have a friend who decided to become a firefighter. So she's switching careers up. So just talk to some women that I know that are doing some great things and just hope to encourage other women that it doesn't matter how old you are, if you're in your second phase of life. I just talked to my current episode that's out right now is I talked to a woman who this summer earned the title of oldest Miss Texas USA contestant. She participated at age 71 and she looks great for 71. Go to the High Achieving Housewife social media. You can see her. She was super inspiring to talk to that at 71. She was like, I knew I wasn't going to win, but I'd be sitting at home watching those girls thinking how much fun they're having and I could be doing it too. So I decided, why not do it even if I'm going to lose? She was just real inspiring. It's called The High Achieving Housewives. I try and put out a new episode every week so people can check that out.
I want to listen to the 71-year-olds contestants. That's how I go into everything. Like my husband plays to win. He enjoys winning. He's like, what's the point if I'm not trying to win? I'm like, what's the point if you're not trying to have fun? Luckily, we balance each other nicely. But when it's just the 2 of us, I'm like, that's a crazy way to play a game. And he was like, that's the only way to play. You play a game to win.
She did say she won't do it again because she knows she won't win. So she's like, I already had the experience going to win. So why would I do it again?
I feel like Adam really resonated with that, though. Your face looked like you wanted to be like, yeah, I get that.
Isn't Bunko one of those games?
I don't know if you've ever played Bunko. It's like a community game. It's a bunch of women sitting around rolling dice, but it is basically luck of the roll. You're really just there to be gossiping and chatting. And I think when he asked, I was like, oh, you wouldn't like it. People win, but you're literally rolling dice until you get a match or whatever you're going for.
Yeah.
There's no skill at all. So I was like, you wouldn't enjoy it. But I enjoy the community aspect of sitting around with a bunch of girls and having something mindless to do.
It's just a fidget thing.
It's give us something to focus on so that we don't have to conversate as much.
We were playing cards a couple of days ago, and I said we should add a second deck because then you can't count the cards. He got so mad. He was like, what do you mean I can't count the cards? I was like, that's like cheating. And he's like, no, it's not. That's how you play.
Yes, he's big like blackjack and all sorts of, but he likes it from the statistics point of view.
Yeah. He likes to be like, oh, we saw that card. You didn't flip that. Oh my gosh, you have a jack under there then because I've seen all the other jacks. And I'm like, how are you remembering that?
Just kidding.
We play dominoes with his dad, and his dad is so good. Well, we play 42 specifically, right?
Yeah,
and I get 42. So frustrated because we'll be halfway through the game and he just flips his dominoes down. He knows every play that everyone's going to make. He already knows that he's won or he's lost, even whatever, but he always just flips his dominoes down.
I'm like, let's play it out though, because I want to know what happens. And he's like, there's no point. And I'm like, then there's no point to the game. So we have very different ways of looking at things. Thank you guys so much for being here. The amazing, high achieving housewife and biology.
And Adam.
We can't send kids directly to your biology class, right? Now that's not how school works.
It's frowned upon if they're not enrolled.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know how school in that setting, really, I get it.
His high school looks like our community college. It is huge. It's a whole different experience.
It's so,
yeah.
Some people don't know that schools are that big.
Yeah. So that's another reason that for us, like we're big school district and just getting out of here for a month, like small town living.
I know that we've kind of said bye already, but I now have a question about schooling. How many students do you teach then?
Well, you have 6 periods.
170, 175, something like that.
Oh, no. You are making a difference in at least 100 people's lives.
I know that.
I do.
Sorry, she did round down.
I rounded down because kids are going to be absent. Some kids just don't care. At least 100 of those kids are listening to you. Even if it's like they take away, what did you learn in biology? How parents give kids eyes colors, right? Don't you learn that?
Dominant genes.
Dominant genes and stuff. That's all I can remember from high school science.
We learned about dominant recessive genes.
I sneak in other things though that aren't biology. Like have 2 pair of shoes so that one can rebound its cushion while you wear the other one the next day so that they last longer.
Yeah, that's good.
I like to think they're life skills.
That's
what they're there for.
Exactly. And they're taking that away. Or what did you say earlier? It's still teaching. It's just a different classroom. That's going to be the name of this episode.
That's true. Yeah.
I loved it. I told someone the other day I want to make merch, and I think that will be maybe a merchy thing.
Whatever. Yeah. They like Shark Tank. Royalties.
I'm going to go listen to that.
This is me giving you permission.
Is this recording? But again, thank you guys so much. I'm going to go listen to your podcast right now and try and eat something before my kid wakes up.
I moved to a boat. She was my boss for 16 years and then she retired. She and her husband sold their house and most of their possessions. And now they just finished up their first year doing the Great Loop. They're on a boat, just a 2-person little boat, like just traveling the waters.
What boats?
Traveling the waters.
I really want to listen to that 71-year-old thing just because I'm like, how did she just put herself in that level of uncomfortability so bravely?
Well, she's 35.
She looks great. I was telling him when I first got her on, and I saw a picture of her in her bathing suit. I was like, Adam, she doesn't look good for 71. She looks good for 30. Like,
Yeah,
she looks
that
like an
sucks.
in-shape 30-year-old. I was like, she looks good for me.
Yeah.
Like, I would take her body over mine right now.
I'm such a hot mess that anytime anyone's confident, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's
Social
my
Security, whole package.
Oh my goodness, whole package. Is she single? I doubt it. I very much didn't think that she was.
Not single.
Okay,
She's a
I'm going to
cat.
listen to it. I really appreciate you guys. It was so nice meeting you, and we'll stay in touch. Adam, I'm going to find you on the internet.
I'm not a very social butterfly.
Perfect.
Good luck.
I'll walk my dog just around your house in hopes that you'll say hi.
Everyone knows that if they need to get in touch with me, they bug her because
Got it.
I'm not a fan of
No, really, his best friend's coming to town, and he made a group text of the two of us and him, even though it's his best friend. But he knew he would get no response from him.
100%. We've got Ryan, like my husband's friends, coming to town in a couple weeks, and we've been texting behind his back. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous.
I feel you.
Appreciate you. Go hug all those grungles for me.
Yes.
No.
But-
They
But
would
that's
never
life,
go hug
right?
them. Yes.
This is like a true life, like real mess, real stuff podcast. So yeah, our kid came in at least twice. I don't know if you noticed us doing this.
Yeah. Yeah, they're just checking. They're
They're
just making. I would like to see what your camper looks like.
Send a picture of the happiest one.
A couple.
My
Sure.
favorite was the 24-footer
Horse camp.
because I felt like we were closer. Now we have a slightly larger one.
And you feel so far
Just-
away.
But
It's
feel
33 feet instead of
feel-
28.
it's heavier.
Do you pull the camper?
It's not a drivable one.
Do you drive and the rest are in the camper, or are you both run?
No.
No, that's against the law. If you're towing something, you can't have anybody inside.
Good
Plus,
to know.
it has slides that slide out once you get there. So if you were in the camper, there's not very much room because once we park it, we push the buttons and the walls come out and make room.
That's why I like the smaller one because
You
you could
could
pull
use
over
it.
and make a sandwich. When you went in, it was open.
Mm.
You pull over on the side of the road and it was ready to go. You didn't have to plug it in to let the slide out.
Yeah. Their whole bedroom basically goes inside of itself. You can't walk in there until we park and pull the wall
walls
out
up.
and they can go in. Yeah.
I'm getting the Goofy movie when PJ and his dad show up and they press the button
Mhm.
and the camper unfolds and it has a bowling alley.
Yes, Pete.
Pete is the dad
Petey,
and
yes.
PJ is the little one.
Yeah. One of my favorite movies too. I think we have it on DVD because I like it.
A
It's one of
Goofy
my
movie?
favorites, too.
The dad and Max
on the open road.
Yeah, and my husband
Mhm.
absolutely is livid about it. He is
Yeah.
like, we get on the road every week. You can't do this that often. It's a bad song.
Once your daughter's old enough, that is a lifesaver for us. Often our kids want to listen to music, so we hand them the phone. We have Amazon Music on our phone. And so we have very favorite songs as families that we like to sing along to. Like a lot of them are soundtracks from Disney movies. We'll put those on and we as a family can sing along every day.
Not like Step Brothers.
No, like Descendants.
I
Have you seen that
disagree.
movie? Not
I
like that.
sure have.
I wish we could, but
No.
I don't think
Yeah.
I don't think we have the discipline.
We do sing a lot in the car as a family.
She's been trying to go a few times.
But
to
I'm
go.
so looking forward.
Yeah.
We can also do like another one. I'm just hoping to eat before my kid wakes up.
I
at 30.
remember
just on the
Yeah.
weekends we can set something up. We
Two
could-
crossover episodes every week.
You could
Those-
come as they live on the road.
Go to Albuquerque. That maybe we can do a drive-by.
Come through San Antonio.
Oh, drive-bys are not popular in San Antonio.
Oh, we on the
I'll
south.
get it. So I won't
So-
drive by. I'll park and say hi.
Yeah. Yes, come on by. Let us know if you're in San Antonio. We look forward to it.
Well,
What's wrong?
Enjoy your lunch.
That's the music.
Bye.
For those of you who love Momatic Adventures and just can't get enough, please head over to our Patreon. If you contribute, you can join in and be a part of our nomadic parenting community, as well as get some behind the scene content. And if you don't want any of that extra stuff, you can actually just click the support the show link in the info of this episode, and you can support the show for as little as $3. Any little bit helps us keep going. I do this entire podcast for the most part on my own. I am the editor, I am the scheduler, I am the planner, the interviewer, the marketing manager, and the all-around hat wearer. And truly, any support helps. And if you support us this week, next week, we will give you a shout out, a thank you directly to you on the episode, just, saying thanks so much for supporting us. And if you're like, hey, I would love to support, but I don't really have the money, or I don't want to give my money to you guys, that's totally cool too. There are so many other ways to support. You can head to Instagram, Threads, YouTube, all the social medias. We're under Momatic Adventure Pod. If you have an idea for the show, if you think you know somebody who would be a great guest, or if you just have a question or want to talk to me, you can send me a text. The info for that is also in the info of this episode. So there's links there for you to support the show, to text us, to follow our socials, blah, 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 blah. Come, hold my hand. Let's go on an adventure.